Good morning and welcome to Cup of Joe and a Shot of Jeff. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we have a guest with us, Mr. Ben Ronald.
Thanks for having me.
Woo! First guest on the show.
Yeah.
Big fan.
So Ben, what did you have for breakfast this morning? First question.
For breakfast, I'm in a unfortunate habit of eating chocolate chip muffin every morning.
Ooh.
So I make it to campus, go get my large coffee, dark roast, black, and then I'll get a chocolate chip muffin.
Ooh, that's pretty good. That's way better than what I have. I have a granola bar and some water.
That's pretty good.
Yeah? What do you
I
have?
don't think, I had 2 eggs this morning. So I had 2 eggs, skipped the coffee for the drive here, got a coffee when I got here.
You must wake up really early to make those eggs.
No. I can fry 2 eggs pretty quick. I'm a quick fryer.
But like you have to be at class at 8:30 today.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get here?
Almost 2 hours sometimes.
2
Today was
hours.
only
So
like
what time are you
an
waking
hour
up
and a
at?
half. Wake up?
Yeah.
Like 5:30 or something. It's not too bad.
Oh, I'm waking up. I'm barely getting out of bed at like 6:30.
Brutal. Gotta start your days earlier. So, we're broadcasting live. Not live. We're broadcasting from the BCIT journalism building. With our special guest, Ben. We're going to find out a little bit about why he's at BCIT, what he's looking for, and, what about him. So, what brought you to BCIT, Ben?
Well, I'm 28, which means I've been working in private industry for a while. I work for a retail company in Vancouver. I still work there, actually. But basically, after I graduated from SFU, I did a public administration degree. I didn't really want to go into government right away. One thing led to another. Started working for the company. I've been working there for 4 years now in different capacities. Last year, I was working on a 12-month contract with the social media team. I managed the team of people who answered and replied to inbound social media. So my team didn't create any content, for what that's worth. They were just answering things. The customer service side of it is what it was. But I think that already going into that role, I was trying to kind of figure out, what do I like to do? What am I good at? And being in that role, it was sort of like at the same time, it gave me like a full dose of what I didn't like, but it gave me some clarity into what I do like. And the stuff that I do like is sort of the communication side of it, PR, and the media side of it. So I kind of just realized, like, turning 28, I was like, if I'm going to make a change, now's the time. I think why BCIT, the 2-year aspect of it appealed to me because I would come out at the other end of the 2-year program at 30. And if this was all like a big mistake, then I wouldn't be too deep into my 30s to correct it. And then specifically like BCIT journalism because such a reputable program. I'm not getting paid to say that.
No, that's great though.
But from what I hear, it's quite reputable. I think that, if for nothing else, the piece of paper that you get after 2 years means something, certainly locally. But it sounds like, from what, when we hear about past students who work for TSN now in Toronto, I'm guessing it's not just in Vancouver where the degree means something. So.
Yeah, no, you seem like you're enjoying it quite well and really taking off. Did you, do you have plans to become like a reporter, journalist, or do you, like you said, you want to get into media? So what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think I kind of have like 3 different paths that I hope, like for which I hope the skills I gain here will help me. So like the sort of big audacious dream would be to have my own CBC radio show. And the way I envision it, it would be like, I don't know if your listeners will know all these shows, but it'll be like The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, like Trevor Noah too. So we'll just say The Daily Show.
Yeah.
Bill Maher, Real Time with Bill Maher, and another show that I'm forgetting right now. But the point being, I want a political show that speaks in a way that everybody can enjoy. I want there to be some entertainment value too. But I just feel really passionately that kind of discussion needs to happen. It needs to happen in a calm and like light sort of area, I guess. Or that's the tone I would like to strike. So there's that. So obviously, like the work that we do in radio and in writing would be valuable for that. I also, there's another like version of me where I'd love to run the communications for a political campaign. Like I would love to run a federal campaign and be the communications person. And something that sort of the clincher for this program was when at the info session they made a comment that a lot of their graduates are going into corporate communications now. And so I'm like, oh, right, like there's some transferable skills there. So, and there's a third one that I'm forgetting right now. Oh, it would just be to go in like corporate communications, you know, like political communications. It's for me, like that's a little bit like it's exciting. I love politics. I love sort of like the public service aspect of it. But if in 2 years, like I decide, you know, I just kind of want like a job that I enjoy, I don't necessarily want to take this big, then I could find a job with a company and write their comms. So yeah, so to answer like your initial question, which is like, will I actually just be a reporter on the ground? I mean, honestly, like I don't see it, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, it definitely, the skills we're learning to become a reporter definitely reflect pretty greatly in those careers. So you're saying your ultimate goal would probably be to have your own show, and then these are other options as well that you'd
totally
be enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's important to have direction. You know, it's important to have sort of a path you're going down, but I don't really buy into the idea that you need to know exactly what you're going to do. I think that doing that adds some structure to your direction, which I think is good, but I've found more success in sort of angling myself towards areas I know I might like, and then kind of figuring it out from there.
Yeah, I'm finding the same thing. Like a lot of this news writing is just like I have more of like a creative mind in the sense that I want to put my own character into my writing, and like I feel like the news writing takes away from that, and at first I was kind of almost not sour, but like I didn't really like that. But then like after a while I kind of realized like, well, no, this is a great skill to have. It doesn't mean I ever have to use it, but it also might open up a door that I didn't think I had before, and then I will be able to use it. So it's really interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. So where do you see yourself in 5 years, Ben? Like, not just with the career as well, but like in your life in general.
I mean, in 5 years, I'd like to be the communications director for a politician for like a federal campaign. I think that would be pretty dope. Because at that point, I'd be like 33.
Yeah.
I can kind of check that off my bucket list and then figure out whatever it is I want to do.
Yeah.
I see myself like I kind of ideally I'd like to stay in Vancouver, but I think realistically I'll probably end up in Ottawa. But yeah.
So why would you want to stay in Vancouver as opposed to Ottawa?
I think Vancouver's home, you know, like, I mean, I grew up here. I grew up in Port Coquitlam.
Shout out to Coquitlam.
Tri-Cities. So yeah, I mean, I like the quality of life here. I mean, obviously I'm paying an arm and a leg for living expenses, but it's a pretty great place to be. And I've traveled a bit to other cities. Certainly, like in North America, I've gone to a lot of other big cities, and I mean, Vancouver holds its own with them. In the summer, I don't know if there's a better place to be in the world. So I think what I'm getting at is it's not a hard no. Like I would move for sure if it made sense. And like I said, if I want to be in politics, I'm at least gonna have to spend the bulk of my time in Ottawa. But with that said, if I could stay in Vancouver for all the reasons I listed, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds like you have like a lot of big dreams ahead, which is really inspiring. That's really cool.
You know, I think I've said it a few times in this program, because what do you figure the average age is, like 25?
Yeah,
Probably
definitely.
Like not quite fresh out of high school, but
Yeah, there's a few that are quite like out of high school, like
Right.
19, 20, but a good majority of us are like 21, 22.
Yeah, 22, 25.
and so
Yeah.
I mean, what's true, and I felt this at my old life at work too, where you deal with a variety of age ranges. It's not so different between 5-6 years, but what I've noticed in my own growth is that the experience you get just with age, like you cannot replace that with anything else. You know, the way I am at 20, the way I was at 24 versus now, like fundamentally kind of the same. Same things like piss me off, same things I liked, kind of dealt with people the same way more or less. But it's like in the last 4 years or so where I've had the real life experience that, and I mean, it sounds trite, right? Like it sounds precocious. I'm 28 and I'm saying I have life experience, but in the program, like I try to think about that, and as much knowledge I can share with the people who are 26, 24, and even 22. Like I want to, at the same time, I want to give advice and let them know, and let you guys know too, is that like it just takes time, you know. So what I mean is that like, so yeah, I've got these kind of big dreams, but it took me a while to get there, and it took me a lot of experience and sort of like intentional thinking to get to a place where I am now, where it's like, yeah, I don't like go home every day being like, yeah, school's great, but when people are like, how's school, I'm like, it's pretty good, it's pretty enjoyable. And that's because like I took the time to find out what I don't like, what I'm good at, all that crap.
So do you think if you got into this program right out of high school, how do you think that would affect your I guess your idea on the program?
Totally. Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the workload that we have in this program, like it's significant, right? Like it's 8 courses you need to be on top of. But having been in private industry, like working in the corporate world, like it's fairly common for you to have more work than you think is humanly possible to take on. And so I know that now. And so when I'm presented with, again, like more work than you think you can do, I know how to handle it differently. I go, okay, like we're going to get through this. I'm not going to let myself get stressed out by it. But I was not like that coming out of high school, right? Coming out of high school, you think like, you just came out of grade 12, like you think you've got the world by the balls. And all of a sudden you've got teachers telling you like, hey, your work's not that good, or people saying, hey, yeah, you've got 9 assignments due. Like my attitude would not have been like, okay, let's go for it. It would have been like, oh, fuck this, and roll my eyes a little, you know? So I can't stress that enough. Like the experience I've had, like coming back as a student a second time, like it's so different. It's so much better. It's more enjoyable because I kind of know how to manage my time better, and doesn't mean I'm getting great grades. Like check out my last video journalism mark. But I just, the experience of it, the subjective experience is better because I just have my shit together more.
Yeah, and you learn more from a mistake now than maybe you would have 5 or 6 years ago.
Absolutely, because I don't take it personally. I shouldn't say that because I do, but I know now that feedback that you get from teachers, especially like in this environment, the supportive environment, like you're not getting feedback for any other reason than they're trying to help you improve. You know, sometimes in the business world, it's not so clear because sometimes your superior is thinking like, that person's going to take my job. But in this environment where it's so supportive, like when you get hard feedback, just say, cool, like got it, thank you, it's clear, take it back, you know, think about what you can take from it that's legit, because it doesn't always mean that all of it's going to be applicable, right? Some of it won't be, and that's fine, but you got to listen to the parts that are worth listening to, because otherwise you won't grow and you're just going to be a hard person to work with. I mean, if I could make it like, if I could turn it into like a practical skill, like why would I want to work with someone who takes things personally all the time? I can't even communicate because they're so sensitive. So that's something where like, yeah, like when I get feedback from Alan or from Connie, it's like, cool, thank you. And then learn from it, as opposed to like, why is that bad person telling me I'm not great?
Yeah, I was like that quite a bit out of high school as well. And a big point that this program likes to stress, I know when I went to the info day, they were saying that they really want people with more life experience, so they would prefer it if you have gone to school or if you're older. And that you're not right out of high school. They will accept people that are right out of high school, but they have to take some prerequisite courses. And I see that there's not a lot of people that came straight out of high school in our program, and so you can feel the community, and everybody has a positive. And the people that did come right out of high school, like they're phenomenal. Like they do really good. They have that personality that it took me 4 or 5 years to develop, and yeah, they do a really good job of really wanting people to have that real life experience.
It's valuable, right? I mean, I feel like I've already talked a lot about it, but I really can't stress that enough. And you know, I think about myself at like 23, 24, and like how those were kind of hard years. You're like old enough to be an adult, and you kind of feel like you should be at a certain point in your life, but you're not. And that was just like that was tough. Like those were tough years for me, because I was like, well, what the fuck am I doing here? And it was because I was experiencing a lot of these things for the first time, like your first time interacting with a serious boss, your first time like handling a huge project at work. And when you like understandably fail at some of those things, you know, I didn't know how to take it. And I took it to mean like I was just a shitty person in general, that I was going to be a failure, right? But once you have the experience, like you take your lumps a bit, you'll see like, okay, like that's not a huge deal. Like okay, like I'm gonna get through this. I always do. I did last time. So yeah, I really can't stress this enough. Be patient with yourselves. For everyone listening,
Oh,
like
I'm patient.
how old are you, Jeff? You're 26?
I'm 24.
24.
So when
And
you
you're
mentioned that-
22?
I'm only 22. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you
Don't
mentioned
like
that
to admit it.
24 stuff, I was like, oh, I'm right there.
Yeah,
I'm right
yeah.
in the thick of things.
No, definitely. And I like, for me, like 22, 23, and then like half of 24 were like not great years, but then like 25, 26, and like last year was probably the best year I've ever had, you know? So what's nice about getting a little bit older is that you stop giving a shit about the things that don't matter, or less and less. You just stop giving a shit about those things. And like I think about in class sometimes how, I mean, when I was in high school and like even in university, like I loved the peanut gallery. Like I would sit in the back and I would just yell things and be distracting.
Oh, yeah.
And I would rather be accepted by the peanut gallery than like actually look like I'm trying hard. And that's a difference now, because now I'm not going like, if someone's like, why do you care so much? I'm not looking at them like, oh, like what's wrong with me? I'm going, well, yeah, I paid $13,000 for this. And like, why aren't you paying more attention, you know, kind of thing. So I guess like you care less about what other people think of you in a good way. You know?
Yeah, when I first went to university, right out of high school, I was the same way. Like I was always, I still am a little bit, and I'm sure you know that, but I'm more mindful of it. That I'll be like, oh man, I shouldn't have been like talking like that. So I try and be more professional. But yeah, like the first time I was so much worse. Like always laughing and talking, and then I always just looked at the guys that were trying to get work done as like oh, they're trying to be like a dad, right? Like,
Totally.
But then like after that, from a pretty young age, like 20 years old, I was thrown into a corporate position, managing farms, having business meetings and stuff like that, living on my own. I got supplied housing. I had employees at 20 years old, so I got thrown into this environment where I had to step up to the plate, and it was weird for me because I was doing good at it, but I wasn't enjoying it because I wasn't able to live my life like my friends were. I eventually got out of that. You know, this, that, and other thing happened, and then now I'm here, and I feel like that's how I got my outer world experience in maybe a shorter amount of time. But I mean, I still have so much to learn.
What do you think? So what do you think you've brought with you the most from that time? Like, how is that transferred or translated into success here?
A lot of it for me is professionalism, and I guess the way I talk to like teachers and stuff, right? Because I've been in boardrooms with managers and their managers and their managers and then the owner and stuff, and you have to think on your feet and talk to people in a reasonable manner, and you gotta have your stuff together before you go into that meeting.
Definitely.
And I made that mistake a few times of saying kind of like, I don't know, because I was 20 years old.
Of course.
They trusted me, right?
Of course.
And then so now it's like I have everything ready for class. I'm a huge procrastinator, and so in that time I realized I can't be a procrastinator, especially on the farm when you have animals waiting for you, and you got to clean out and get new animals in there and deal with all the logistics on top of that. Like I was doing a lot of business work in addition to the actual manual work, so like keeping it all together is a huge task.
No doubt.
And so now when I come here, I kind of look at my work and I'm like, oh, I have this assignment due next week. And then I look back to those experiences. I'm like, man, this is nothing. Like,
I know.
It's hard work, 100%. But like, there's not a lot on the line. The teachers are very, like, if something happens to you, they're fine with giving you an extension if it's realistic. They're there to help you 24/7. It's not that hard of work when I look back on other things I've had to go through.
I think you hit on something that I've told my friends is the best part about being back at school is how structured it is. In the sense that when you're in the business world, like there's surprises all the time.
100%.
And like if you're lucky, you know what's coming down the pipe, you know what I mean? So the fact that I know, like if I wanted to, I could plan out my November like right now, you know? And there's steps, right? Like for the big fun feature, the 8-minute short film we're doing, I mean, there's like literally step after step, and they give us 3 weeks to do the steps. You know, first it was the pitch, and then it's the proposal 3 weeks later, and then in 3 weeks it's the script. I mean, like in business, it's like, here's a project, like you kind of do the rest. And there's so much value in that. I think like being thrown into the fire and like being left to your own devices. So it is a balance because the structure is good, and I would say necessary when you have the workload that we do, and you can't be overly reliant on that. That's like when someone asks a question and they're like, look at D2L, like it's the idea of getting in the habit of like not just relying on someone else. It's, you know, where that idea is, to go get it, you know? And So I'm kind of contradicting myself in the sense that I'm saying like what I really like about school is the structure, but I know that too much structure it makes you lazy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm finding that a little bit now, but at the same time, you gotta stay on your toes. But yeah, no, I definitely like to be the person that people ask, like, "Hey, when's this due?" Right?
Yeah.
Than to be the one asking them. Like, it just feels good to know stuff. It feels so
Totally.
refreshing, like, not to procrastinate and have everything when everybody's freaking out and you're just, relaxed. You're like, I know what I'm doing.
That's
Getting your stuff in.
That's the like, not the catch, but that's like the worst part is like being disciplined and being structured and like doing the right things feels good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst part. That's hard to accept when you're 24.
Yeah.
But like it's true. Like being disciplined, like you will feel good. Maybe not right away because that's the whole thing, right? It's not instant gratification. It's not. I'm trying to think. It happened. I wish I could remember. This is gonna be bad radio. Because I remember the other day I did something, or just like in relationships, like when I'll do something because immediately I have an immediate need, like I'm feeling insecure about something, and I'll force the issue, knowing that if I were to just like step back a little bit, I could be like, right, everything's actually okay and it's moving in the right direction. And if I just were to let it be, like I'll actually feel better about it. In the short term, when I actually do like bite and ask the question, I actually feel shittier. Even if I get the answer I want, I'm like, oh fuck, why did I even ask that?
Yeah.
So I'll get off my soapbox after this interview, but I feel like when I was 24, I would have liked to have someone 28
Yeah,
give
no,
me
I
some
feel the same
advice
way
and
right now. This
experience,
is so good. You want to be my mentor, Ben?
I can do it. I've done it. Mentorship's important too, man. Like it's
Yeah.
nice to have people you can trust and people who like will look out for you. I've been lucky at work. I have a couple really great mentors, and growing up in Poco, there's a few too. So
Well, it's all about having the community, right? There's different people in the class for different things. So and I'm lucky enough, like I don't know if you agree or not, but I'm lucky enough in my point of view that I feel like everybody is very supportive and
Totally.
everybody's funny and easygoing
Totally,
and
totally.
understanding. Like
Yeah.
we were having the discussion the other day, like if you offend somebody, you can just talk about it. It's
Totally.
no problem at all,
Totally.
right? And
That's nice, man.
I think a huge part of that is this community that the journalism program builds. Like you have all these creative minds that, for the most part, we're not judgmental, and it might just be our year, but I think a lot of it is the program itself
Totally.
and how it's structured.
It's nice, man. Yeah. What time are we at?
Yeah.
We've been recording for about 22 minutes.
You guys are editing this, right? Like, did you edit the last one? No,
No,
you just
not
let it roll.
really. Well,
That's
we
okay.
lost a bit,
That's cooler.
so we just added the two sequences together.
Oh yeah, that one was bad.
What was
Yeah,
what was the most difficult, if I could call it that? Like, what was the hardest part of putting out the last podcast?
The last one I think was
We ran out of stuff.
Hey?
We ran out of stuff pretty quick.
Yeah, we had an idea, but it wasn't really refined, and I think for both of us it was just about getting it done. Just like do it, and then once you do it, then after that you can build onto it. But if you never start, you're not going to go anywhere, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I think that this one's been a huge upgrade from the last
Yeah.
podcast.
Because we also didn't lose the recording. Any
Yeah.
point, we're set.
Recorded this time.
You have to be. I think this was a writer friend who told me this, but there's an old saying: "Writing is rewriting," and it also refers back to like when you're first starting to write, like you have to be okay with being shitty.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we all in our heads think that we're just going to put pen to paper and it's going to come out a tale of two cities, right? But it's actually like you're going to be shitty at the start, and that's okay. I would say it's the same with this, right?
Yeah.
Me and a buddy, like before I started this program, like we recorded a podcast. I'm using air quotes right now because like we had one microphone like on my kitchen table, and I live right at the corner of 12th Avenue in Granville, so like it's the loudest street. I didn't know what I was doing with editing, so I was just recording things in GarageBand, and someone who knows what they're doing is probably laughing right now because that was a big mistake. The files were huge. But with that said, even though like it wasn't a great success, like I still have a base now.
Yeah.
I have a basis, right? Like I know a little bit, okay, ambient sound, like I need to be more aware of that. That's why a room like this works.
Yeah.
I know a little bit more about, if my partner and I, like, are we going to talk the way we did sort of in the two podcasts there, or are we going to change? That little bit of experience, even though like it's crap what we produced, it was valuable to experience that so that you're not just starting from zero.
Yeah, for the sake of this podcast not being too long, we'll wrap up pretty quick, I guess.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But I was just to add on to that. I was gonna say like, yeah, when you're doing something like this, when you're really putting yourself out there and like accepting the judgment, because everybody's gonna have their own opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think for the first few times you're never gonna be confident, and like I wasn't for the first one. I'm like I really didn't. I wasn't that happy with it, but like, what am I gonna do? Just not post it, and you just never get around to posting because you're always gonna be self-conscious.
Totally.
So until you can get the content out, and I think that's with anything in life, you have to get the content out, let the judgments come, whatever, build from it, and then do good. Nobody that's doing really, really well in this world started like super good podcast and is now a good podcaster.
No.
I know, for instance, like I listen to a Joe Rogan podcast, and right now he has amazing celebrities on, and it's great. He's a super good interviewer. You look back to his first one, it's just like the audio's terrible, the video's terrible. Even some in the middle, before he got really good at interviewing, he was kind of opinionated, and you're like, come on, man. But now, like, he's amazing. I love his podcasts, and you got and you know, he leaves them on there too, which is crazy. He could take all those crappy ones off, but he leaves them on there, and I don't know, it's cool to me.
Don't expect to be good right away, because like you won't be. You're not at 100%, and then every mistake you make takes you down. Like you're at 0, and you need to build yourself up to 100%.
Yeah.
Well, we already have celebrities, so
Yeah, Ben Ronald.
Yeah,
He's
that's
our
me.
celebrity.
that's one of them. So we're way ahead of
Local
Joe
celebrity.
at that point. Plus, we got sweet audio.
Yeah,
Was-
the benefit of
Was
BCIT
Riley supposed to
allowance.
be the guest, and then I was
Yeah,
the
Mr.
backup?
Reduke will be next week.
Yeah, Mr. Reduke will be
Right
next
on.
week.
Right on.
So
Well,
Best
that's
of
his
luck.
fault.
Thanks for inviting me. This was
no-
fun.
yeah, thanks so much, Ben.
Man, it was awesome. Anytime.
Is there any last words before we go, or
Oh, I think that's
That's great.
good.
my last word is my team beat Joe's team at dodgeball.
Yeah, he did.
You
Yeah,
owe me
he
$2
did.
for that.
Was that a set E versus F thing? Why
Yeah,
I kind of missed
No.
There was a lot of set E on
Well,
your
okay,
team,
what happened
lots
was
of F.
we had whatever 15 or 20 people that wanted to play, and then Riley's like, okay, well, we basically need to play 2 teams, or else we're not all going to have that much playing time. So we split it up, and then Riley was in set F, Aaron was in set E, and they were captains, and then they picked the team. But I love my team. It's great. I had a great time. It was super fun too. Last week, yeah, the 2 sets played, or the 2 teams played each other in the same program. It was really cool to be out there with everybody playing.
Yeah, it was
sure.
it was a pretty friendly game.
Who's good from the other set?
From
From set E? Who's good?
I'm on this other team, set E.
So
so
who's
me.
good? Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we're all good.
But because I remember from last week's podcast, you said Ramat's really good, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
No,
Lamont is-
everybody's really good.
Yeah.
Lamont's
I-
really good.
I was saying that because that was actually Ramat's first time ever even hearing
wow.
of dodgeball.
Wow.
And because he came from Afghanistan, and Riley actually told him what it was, and he went home and researched it.
Cool.
And holy shit, like he played super
That's
good.
awesome. I love it. I love
Amazing for like not even knowing what
Yeah.
dodgeball is.
it. That guy's great.
Yeah, yeah.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
He's part of the they wouldn't like me calling them this, but the older crew. Because there's a few
how
of
old
us.
is he?
He's 28. He's my age.
Oh.
So there's someone who's like 32 or 33.
Yeah.
Someone who's 31. A couple of 28ers.
It's super cool having the
It's
difference.
fun,
I
right?
love having people younger than me, my
Yeah.
age group, and then you guys. Like and everybody's. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I do like the age gap.
Yeah.
The age gap is pretty cool. But we're all still young. It's not like there's a 50-year-old
Yeah.
or a 60-year-old.
That was kind of it wasn't my fear because I knew I wouldn't be super, super old, but I asked a friend, Joel Ballard, who's in the second year program. I was like, so are you the oldest? He's like, I'm not the oldest, but I'm definitely not the youngest.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks, Ben, for
Thanks, boys.
coming in.
Best of luck.
Hopefully, we'll talk to you again someday.
Yeah, I guess
All
I'll
right.
see you in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I guess so. Joe, sign us off.
Yeah, catch us next week on Thursday. Peace.